How you doing today? So today I want to talk about protecting your brand um, online and what that means. And if you're selling online, hi Nancy, how you doing? If you're selling online, then this is something that I think is really important. I've had a lot of clients that have had um, problems with this, and they usually don't know about the problem until they actually are already selling something, and then they realize that they've got a major problem. I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I hope you can hear me okay. So what I want to talk about is some things that people need to know, and this is frequently overlooked. Branding online is frequently something that a lot of people don't pay attention to. How to protect their brand online, I should say, is something that a lot of people don't pay attention to, and it's really something you should pay attention to because it could ultimately cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. I know at least two people recently who have had to have their listings taken down because they were violating somebody else's intellectual property, and that's not good. Um, and it could have been easily avoided if they had done a simple trademark search before they went and ordered their first set of inventory to sell on Amazon. So I do get a lot of questions on trademarks, and that's really what we're going to be talking about. I've got a list of questions that I can go through. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. Um, but I can start with kind of the basics. What is a trademark? Well, a trademark, my name is Jim. I'm sorry. My name is Jim Hart, Nancy, and I'm a lawyer. I practice trademark and brand protection for trademark law, and I protect businesses that sell products, either physical or information products, to protect their brands online. Um, so a lot of that is dealing with trademarks and how to protect your brand online. So a trademark is basically, and I'm going to read from you the definition directly from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, is a word, phrase, slogan, symbol, or design, or combination thereof that identifies the source of your goods and services and distinguishes them from the goods and services of another party. So basically, that just it's whatever it's something about your business that lets consumers know that certain goods or services come from you and your brand alone, and not from some other competitor. Um, a simple way to think of a trademark is it's basically your brand. Um, yes, you work with lawyers. Great. Great. Tell me more about what you do, Nancy. Leave a comment. Um, so essentially, a trademark, it's a brand for goods and services. It can be anything from a word, a slogan, a symbol, a design, a combination of any of those things. It can even be a smell or like a scent, like a cologne or a color. IBM Blue, I think, is a good example of that. Anything that distinguishes the source of the goods or services from other competing goods and services in the marketplace. And so that's basically what a trademark is. Now, when you're first starting out, you want to make sure that, hey Abdullah, how you doing today? You want to make sure that you have conducted a proper trademark search. I actually, on my website at hawthornelaw.net, did an entire post on how to conduct a proper trademark search. I walk you through how to go through TESS, which is the trademark search service for, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. And let me just grab my coffee. And so that's probably okay. Great, thanks, Nancy. Yeah, make sure you follow me. Um, um, I'd be happy to follow you back. And I appreciate you inviting your followers. And by the way, if you want to share this, if you're on here and you want to share this with your followers, I think you swipe left or right, I believe, on an iPhone, or swipe it down from top to bottom on an Android device, and that'll share this with your followers. We would certainly appreciate that. And obviously, hearts are welcome too. So I know hearts are a big deal on Periscope. I'm just getting on to Periscope. This is thanks, folks. This is the first time. Well, I did a couple scopes before Christmas, and this is the one I'm doing now. And I like getting on about once a day, just to talk about legal issues surrounding trademark law and online branding and mistakes that I see people making. And obviously you can see all my feeds at catch.me, as well as I've been doing YouTube videos as well. So I've got a YouTube channel, and I take all those videos and I put them on. I put them on my my website under a resources section. So I've got probably 10 or 15 videos at this point, and growing almost daily, because this will be added there too when we're done with this. So so basically, the idea here, what you really need to understand is you need to do a proper trademark search before you launch your brand, because if you don't and you are accidentally infringing on somebody else's brand, I mean, the example I'll use is I have a friend who was selling a product, and he had trademarked his name and done all the searches for that, and did a great job with that. The problem was the product he had trade dress, and thank you for the hearts. The problem he had trade dress that was registered with the trademark office, that made the product itself unique, separate and apart from the actual brand of the product. And because of that, he had to take $80,000 worth of inventory down from Amazon, that's thousands and thousands of units. There's a lot of cost involved in doing that. Welcome to people that are just joining. And so that's why it's important to do a proper trademark search. So if he had done a trade dress search, Calasierum, I assume that's your name, maybe. I apologize if I botched that. So basically, he had not searched for trade dress. He had only searched trade names. He did a great job registering his name. He did not pay attention to trade dress as a potential issue, and that's what ultimately caused his downfall there. And now he's got $80,000 worth of inventory that he can't do anything with, because he got a cease and desist letter from a big law firm telling him to stop selling it. In terms of domain names, a lot of people have a question about domain names. So when you register your web address through a domain name registrar, are you actually getting trademark protection on that address? And actually you're not. It doesn't give you any trademark rights at all to the web address. It's just a web address that identifies a website. It's not a trademark. And you can actually, if you register a domain name that infringes on somebody else's business trademark, you could be forced to give it up. They'd have to show that the sole purpose of you registering that domain name was to try and profit off of their business. But ultimately, if that's what you were trying to do, you would have to give up that domain name. So keep in mind that when you're registering your domain name, that has nothing to do with trademark law. That's between you and the registrar, where you register your domain name. A big source of confusion is trademarks versus copyrights versus patents. What are all of them? As we already talked about, a trademark is used to protect a brand name for goods or services. A copyright protects written works of art. They could be both literal works of art or artistic works of art. It includes music, lyrics, books, screenplays, movies, and actual plays. And then a patent protects things that people invent, so basically inventions. It could be a process or a system. It could be a product itself. And so, different businesses are going to require different protections, but not all businesses require patent protection, even though they all have trademarks that should be registered, I would argue. So then, with all this background in mind, a lot of people want to know, well, when should we start the process of trademarking our business name? And I recommend applying for, hi Mark, I recommend applying for trademark rights to your brand or company as soon as you possibly can. You can do it almost immediately by filing what's called an intent to use application, which will ensure that your name has, hey, from Turkey, wow, cool. It will ensure your brand is protected as soon as you begin selling if you file the intent to use application. In addition, you're going to submit your application for trademark registration, because by doing so, it's usually going to require a trademark search, which is going to identify any issues up front and make sure that you aren't accidentally, like I said before, infringing on somebody else's mark, which is one of the biggest mistakes that we see businesses make all the time without even knowing it. So why should you register your trademark? Well, this is a huge question, and this is something that a lot of people don't really understand. They think that they have what's called common law rights to their trademark, which is true. As soon as you start using your trademark, you do actually obtain what are called common law rights to it. However, you need to understand that common law rights to your trademark are, first, they're limited in scope, and second, by failing to register the mark, it's going to be difficult for others to know about your mark to protect it. But trademarks are so essential because they protect your business, they're part of your intellectual property, they provide value to your business if you have one. They represent the goodwill and reputation in the marketplace. They distinguish your brand from other brands out there that are that might be similar to yours from your competitors. So I've got a list of 8 reasons why you should register your trademark here. The first one is it creates a legal presumption that you are actually the owner of the mark. So without this legal protection, if ownership to the mark ever came into question, you would have to prove your ownership right either in court or even out of court to enforce your right to that trademark. The second thing is by registering your mark and receiving that legal presumption, that's going to apply nationwide in the United States. So as opposed to a common law mark, or a common law, if you're just have common law rights to a trademark, it could be limited in scope to the geographic area where you're selling. With federal trademark protection, you're protected in all 50 states, regardless of whether you're selling in all those 50 states. So that's something that you would want to consider. Registration puts the public on notice, and it does that because as soon as it's registered, then it's in a searchable database at the United States Patent and Trademark Office. And then another reason is that by giving people that notice, you're going to have fewer people that are inclined to basically infringe on your mark because they can do a search for your trademark or for a potential mark that they want to use. And if they find yours, then obviously they're not going to, we would assume they're not going to use it at that point. And also it's going to keep the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, the examining attorney, from registering a mark that's similar in nature to yours. So that's another reason. A big reason, especially for people that sell on Amazon or even Shopify, that you want to think about is as soon as your mark is registered, you can register that mark with the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. And that way, if any other goods or services are attempted to be imported into the United States, it's going to prevent those goods from coming into the United States. So any infringing or counterfeit goods will then be basically policed by the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol. So that's kind of a pretty powerful reason to get a trademark if you have no other reasons. Just that alone, I think, provides a lot of value. A lot of people forget about that. You can use your U.S. trademark as a basis for applying for registration in a lot of foreign companies, or foreign countries, I should say. So if you register in the United States and you want to go apply in Canada or the EU or someplace else, that's going to be a good basis for you to do that. You also obtain the right to proceed in a legal action against an infringing party when you have that mark registered with the USPTO. And then you can use the R in the circle. Now when I named this, I included in the name for this scope the copyright symbol, the R symbol, and the TM symbol. The R symbol, the R with the circle, can only be used by companies that have actually registered their trademark. Hi, Leo. You can't use that unless you're federally registered. The TM symbol is used when you file your application. And I think you can actually use that before you file your application as well to let people know that you're intending to protect your rights to that trademark. So that's 8 good reasons to file your trademark. If you're not sold completely by now on why you need to do that, let me talk to you a little bit about how long the process takes. Hi, Bo. How you doing? The process takes anywhere from 9 months to several years, depending on how easy or difficult it is to register your particular mark. Some marks are easier to process than others, and it's going to depend on whether it's a descriptive mark or if it's more of a fanciful or artistic mark. And so just some marks are easier to trademark than others. The more descriptive it is, the harder it's going to be to get through. If it's a generic mark, it can't be registered at all. The next question I have is, how do you decide which class to use? So what you need to know is there are 45 different classes of goods and services that you can choose from. And each of those classes has multiple listings of different types of products and services that you can sell within that class. So you need to make sure you pick the right class. If you pick the wrong class, it's going to be costly to you because you'll have to refile your application, pay a new application fee to the USPTO. So this is where an attorney can really help you with the process. And so picking the right class is a big deal. Hey, welcome to people who are just coming on now. Glad to have you today. The USPTO has a link. Hi, Chris. Has a link in a search tool that can help you identify the proper class. If you go to their website, I've got links to this at hawthornelaw.net. Your logo, people often ask if they can register that. Obviously, we would recommend you do register your logo. However, if you're in a situation where it's financially just not feasible for you to file more than one application at a time, you don't need to. Also, we recommend you start the process with a business or brand name and go that way. And we offer flexible payment options for people that are looking to do both, that make it a little easier up front to do both of those right away. And you just have to be responsible for paying both filing fees. If you incorporate your company, do you own the trademark? And this is similar to the domain name question that I got earlier, and the answer is no. So you can incorporate any name you want if the Secretary of State in your state will go ahead and incorporate that for you, but it doesn't mean you have trademark protection. So you're going to want to apply for trademark protection at the same time. And then the last question I have is, how long does a trademark last? It lasts 10 years, and then after 10 years you need to file for an extension for another 10 years. And you can do that in perpetuity forever, as long as you want to own that mark. So that's it for today. Just some of the things we covered today. Basically, what is a trademark, how to search for trademarks, domain names. We talked a little bit about copyright law and patent law. We start the process of when you should file for your trademark, why you should register your trademark. We went through a whole list of reasons why you should register your trademark. We talked about how long the process takes. We talked about deciding on a class to use and how to do that and whether or not it even matters. We talked about whether or not you should trademark your logo. We talked about whether you own the name of your company after it's incorporated. And we talked about how many years a trademark registration lasts. So if you are just coming on now and you missed this, you can go ahead and check out the replay. We went through all those things. And that's that. I'm going to call it a wrap for today. If you have questions, please feel free to email them to me or through my Twitter handle at HawthorneLG. And look forward to talking to you again next time. Thanks, folks.